Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's live Q&A with author Alia Volz and her mom, Meridy. This is like an exclusive, I don't know, it's kind of awesome that we get to meet with both of them, the author and the subject, in 1 hour of fabulousness. So tonight's live event is hosted by Amy and Nancy Harrington, sisters who founded the Passionistas Project to inspire women to follow their passions. The project features a podcast, live events on their Facebook group, upcoming monthly women's equality events, and a quarterly subscription box filled with products from women-owned businesses and female artisans. They are currently taking orders for the fall box. Their theme this quarter is Passionistas Persist. They hope the items in the box will inspire you to stand in your power, roar at the top of your lungs, take care of yourself, and remember to laugh, because without joy, what's it all for? Seriously, if we all support one another and stay persistent, great things will happen. You can find out how to subscribe to the box at thepassionistasproject.com. And Amy and Nancy, please post that link into the comment thread, please. All right, tonight we're going to be discussing Home Baked, My Mom, Marijuana, and the Stoning of San Francisco. And I want to say Alia Volz is the author of Home Baked, My Mom, Marijuana, and the Stoning of San Francisco, which was published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt in 2020. Her work has appeared in the Best American Essays, the New York Times, Bon Appetit, Salon, Guernica, the Three Penny Review, and many other publications. Her unusual family story has been featured on Snap Judgment, Criminal, and NPR's Fresh Air. Ooh, I'm jealous. And Meridy Volz, who created Sticky Fingers Brownies, has always been an artist and an activist. She lives in Desert Hot Springs, California, where she makes art and teaches art to at-risk and incarcerated teens. Her recent series of Black Lives Matter's portraits is receiving critical acclaim, and I myself have purchased one. So welcome, ladies. Oh. Welcome to the 2020 Quarantine Book Club.
Thank you.
It is so awesome to have you both here. Susan, my what are you? My co-admin?
Admin.
You're my best helper. I couldn't do this without you. I appreciate you. So I'm just going to go over a few questions with you about the book. And so when did you start writing this book?
Most embarrassing question first. I started this project in around 2006. So it took start to finish about 11 years, off and on, other stuff in between. But it began as an oral history where I recorded my mom's stories and then started interviewing and recording people, other people from within the business, and then customers, and the circle widened exponentially until I found myself interviewing a retired police sergeant. And I thought, what is going on here? But it's been through many permutations. So almost 12 years of work.
No, that's good. I mean, it comes out when it comes out.
It's what it takes.
It does.
And it seems like a work that would have taken you that long to do, just to say that it was very detailed, and I'm not surprised that it took that long.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, because you blend both the personal story and you have a lot of history and culture of San Francisco interwoven, which is my favorite. My favorite genre is narrative nonfiction that does that, where it takes a personal story and you learn something at the end, not just the personal story. How long did it take you to get an agent for this manuscript?
So that was a whole nother story. The original version, at first I had an oral history with some historical background, but it wasn't written in this investigative narrative style that it is now. And I had an agent for that who actually sought me out based on a smaller piece I had written. And He helped me develop the proposal. We shopped it in 2009 and it got rejected by every house in New York and several in California as well. After which it went in a drawer for quite a long time. That agent dropped me. When I came back to this project, I pulled it out again in 2016, which was when it was in the lead up to the election when in California, we legalized recreational use of cannabis. And I realized like, this is definitely the time. It was in debates, it was in conversations. And I realized that, I noticed that people weren't talking about the role that AIDS activism had played in cannabis legalization, which felt like a kind of erasure to me. And that put the fire under my butt to get this book out again and rework it with the new skills I had acquired in the meantime. I got an agent pretty quickly. Once I had the proposal, I had a few different offers, and I had to decide between them, and ended up going with Farley Chase, who's fantastic. And it was pretty smooth from there on out until, of course, the world ground to a halt a month before.
Yes. Now, okay, so I asked this of all the debut authors in this group. What did you have planned for your book launch? Because yours was right at the beginning, well, pretty close to the beginning of the pandemic on 4/20. What were you going to do?
I had a lot going on. I'm an events person. I love doing events. I love putting together parties. And so I had planned a big party where I had food sponsorship and wine sponsorship. I had a Sylvester impersonator and a live band and a panel with the Sticky Fingers crew, my mom, my dad, and Barb. Some of the other people were going to be on it, and all kinds of shenanigans planned. And then I had a 20-city tour that I'd spent an enormous amount of time putting together. I was going to do this whole leg through the South with Southern Houses of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. I was so looking forward to it. It was really hard to put together, but it was a lot. I mean, I had so many ideas and plans. So, you roll with it. It was about 3 weeks before launch that word came down from my publisher that we were just calling it all off. And what else could you do? I couldn't stand the idea of getting a couple hundred people together, many of whom are in their years, and risk people getting sick. So you do what you have to, and fortunately I've met a lot of people. A lot of people came together to do things like this wonderful group. The Quarantine Book Club has been tremendous, and the literary community has just adapted, right? Yeah. We found ways to do it, and it's been a great launch and a great run anyway.
Yeah, it's just different, It's different. So now we're going to talk about the book, but I know Susan has some questions that she asked of all the authors, and I'm going to let you go first before we go into questions from the members. Susan.
Oh, okay. So Alia, hi. This is one that I always ask our authors, and it was since I was an elementary reading teacher. And you talked a little bit about your elementary life, but what did you read when you were a child?
Oh, I loved reading as a child. I started reading really early, and I used to hide books behind my bed so I could read them by nightlight when I was supposed to be sleeping. I've never been a big sleeper. When I was a kid, I identified really strongly with Alice in Wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland for obvious reasons. Loved Black Beauty was another huge favorite. I was always into horses. That was when I was really little. And I loved Harold and the Purple Crayon was probably my first favorite when I was a really little kid, which is all about inventing your own reality. And then as I got older, I got really into horror novels. That was a big thing for me at around 9, 10 years old, kind of in that age during the AIDS crisis. I found a lot of solace, oddly, in horror novels. Later, sophomore year in high school, I guess it was, I went into an independent study program where I had a phenomenal teacher who taught out of a broom closet that he had stacked floor to ceiling with thousands of books, and students were encouraged to pick our own work. And that was explosive for me. I read Camus and Machiavelli, and the world just cracked open.
That you credit in the epilogue for finding your giftedness, and
Yes.
if so, talk about that a little bit.
Yes,
that was one of my questions.
Well, Chris Clark. So at that time in high school, I was definitely feeling my oats and embracing the misfit in me, and you know, enjoying being an outcast. And I had a pretty rebellious attitude toward any sort of authority figure. I don't know where I got that from, Mare.
Apple, meat, tree. Yeah, okay.
So anyway, I was getting into a lot of trouble. I was ditching classes, and I was having run-ins with the cops, and you know, just some dangerous behavior. Anyway, went into this independent study program, and Chris Clark, who's a Southern gentleman, a conservative person himself, he looked right past like the heavy goth makeup and all the bad attitude, and he saw potential, and he saw that I had a good brain. So he just started teasing me out. I mean, he would give me these really dark books because I was into dark things. So he gave me the Nazi doctors to read, and things that were really intense and dark. And I loved Camus and stuff that called out hypocrisy that a teenager can really relate to, you know. So that he helped me find my way gradually toward less angry work as well. Because once you get the bug, the world is just limitless, you know. So it really changed my life.
Good.
Oh.
I was curious about that, so thank you.
So we
and
have
then
a
I have
question. Okay, what?
we have more questions on here. No,
Yeah.
I'll ask mine later if we need to at the end.
Okay, so Meridy, this is from member Dana Austin. How proud do you feel to have your story told by your daughter in such a fabulous format?
I'm totally proud. Alia is my heart, and what can I say? She's a brilliant writer, if I do say so. She did a wonderful job, and I'm totally proud of her. Couldn't be more proud of her. I've always been proud of her. It's nothing new. You know, has lived up to her potential. And she's got a great mind and a great heart. What more could a mother ask?
Oh,
Very proud.
So you didn't feel at all like, I don't know if I want you to write about some of these things. Did you ever have any trepidation about some things that were written about in the book?
I never pushed back. I was always open to it. On some level, I felt like, okay, I'm going to be exposed. You know, it's coming up. Like something that I've kept very secret is going to be exposed. But actually, I haven't received any negative feedback at all. I thought and I work with at-risk kids. And I Skype teach in juvenile hall 5 classes a week. And they do a big background check. I mean, all of that. And I thought, but my bosses just believe in me and they like what I do. And so there has been no negative feedback whatsoever about the book. I thought I could be pretty criticized as a parent in some ways, but openly I have not been. So I feel okay, and always have. I've been real supportive.
Cool.
Interviewed and interviewed and interviewed and interviewed.
And interviewed.
Okay, we're getting some more questions here.
We have a lot.
We have a lot. Let's see. Another question from Dana. I love the artwork on the bags. It reminded me of art in our off-the-wall underground student newspaper. I was excited to hear about people who had collections. Were you able to photograph the collections? Were your mom and dad happy to see them?
Yeah, I actually have what is mostly a collection. I have one of the, it has to be one of the fullest collections there are. So there are more than 100 bags in here. There are a lot that, didn't go into the book, simply because there's only room for so much. We decided on 20 images or 21 images, I think, and that's what went into the book. So I have this wonderful resource to draw on, which I think is thanks to my dad, because he was kind of the archivist, so he saved them, and he did me as the family historian the great favor of numbering them, so that they're in chronological order.
Wow.
And what was so wonderful about this was that as I was going through and recreating this history, I was able to see on a given week what my parents were talking about, thinking about, sometimes what they were arguing about, because my dad had a habit of putting their arguments on bags. When, if they were having a major argument that week, it would end up, I have one here. Oh, here's one of those. So crazy pictures, baby, keep slowing us down. And you can tell, so then my parents would go out into the city delivering brownies in these bags, and everybody would know that they were having an argument. But what was so great about that, as I recreated the story, was being able to see how their artwork directly reflected what was going on historically at that moment, because often it would have a clear tie to Jonestown or to the Milk and Moscone assassinations or to an election or something astrological. So these are, just so you can see exactly what they are, they're lunch bags, right? Like they're just regular old lunch bags, and then they would trade brownies to a printer each week to run them off. And this is the one from my surprise it's a girl birth.
No.
Actually, which is what I happened to put my hand on. But there were other people, I did hear about other people who had collections. And after the book came out, I got, emails from all over the place, and someone did reach out with a bag that I'd never seen before that they'd kept over all these years. So they're out there.
So Meridy, did you design any of the bags, or was it mostly Doug?
No, both of us.
Both of
We
you did?
alternated. Yeah. I did not give out our family secrets. No, that was Doug.
That was
I did a lot of like anti-nuke stuff. I did a lot of mystical astrology, Qing, tarot cards, different bags like that. Those were a lot of those were my designs. No, we alternated.
Here's a Pisces.
People collected them.
What is that? Which
Pisces.
bag is Pisces?
Yeah.
Okay, Susan, you're a Pisces. I have a moon in Pisces, and it's Pisces moon right now, so.
And I have a Pisces moon, and Alia has a Pisces moon. She and I both have Sag risings.
As do I, which I found
That's
very
interesting. But I'm a Libra. My birthday's coming up, and Alia's is Sagittarius.
I'm a Leo. My mother is a Libra, October 7th, and my husband and my son are both Sagittarius, and I have a daughter who's also a Leo. So we're like the house of fire.
Fire, very fiery.
I bet you have some fun arguments and
Oh yeah, and we're all very creative, and we don't know how to do our taxes. That's pretty much the yeah, we can make great art and tell stories, but yeah. Susan actually taught my son, so she knows. Yeah.
I know. They're wonderful. It's a fabulous family. Creativity oozes.
Nice.
All right, we have lots of questions.
We have lots of questions.
Okay. Darlene wants to know, Meridy, what was your childhood like?
My mother was abusive. I was a daddy's girl. And I made art. I drew colorful people from the time I could hold a crayon at age 2. My first scholarship to art school at age 6. So making art was always and still is, my sanctum sanctorium. It's been my safe place. And so it was as a kid. As long as I was making art, I can remember being a little kid and chaos in my house. And I'd be in the kitchen propped up on elbows, laying on my stomach and drawing, kicking my feet up and down. And that place where I just had color and my vision was a safe place. And so that's how I grew up, is that art always was my safe place. And my family's all gone. My brother, my mother, my father, all died very young. But that's what my childhood was like. I was sort of privileged. I had dance lessons and art lessons. My mother was very smothering and controlling. And I survived it. And what I came out with was the art, always. It's always been there in my life, still is. 73 years old and still drawing colorful people.
And you're amazing. You're an amazing artist. I just want to say that.
Appreciate that.
Okay, this is from Peggy Gleason. Meridy, was there any part of the story that you would have seen differently?
No, it was really, really well told. Alia went to a lot of trouble to make sure details were correct. And they were. And it was told from her viewpoint. It wasn't my viewpoint of the whole thing. It was her viewpoint, really, of the whole thing. And no, there's nothing I would have changed. It's not all flattering, as we know. I mean, there's things in there that's like, oh, not very flattering. And like I said, it could be criticized. But there was always love. And that goes a long way. There's always love between Alia and I. Always, always.
I admire you.
Huge.
Yeah, for someone to have come from an abusive maternal relationship and not to have passed that on.
Well, I learned a lot from my mother. I learned what not to do.
But that often isn't learned until many generations later.
Yeah.
So
I learned it. When I had Alia, and Doug was so sure she was a boy. And I just chose the name and just slipped it into my back pocket. And there she was. And for sure, my contract, so they say, And I got a chance to work that stuff out. Did not pass it on. No, it wasn't in my heart to do that.
So
No.
I have a question that was kind of touched on today, like the bond between the two of you. I mean, I can relate to it because I grew up in a family of secrets. My dad was a poker player and it was illegal where we lived. And my brother was a bank robber and another brother was robbing pharmacy. I mean, there was a lot of illegal activity in my house. And so I know the power of secrets as a bonding agent. And so I'm wondering, was there a relief when the business ended for you, Alia? Like, I don't have to keep this secret anymore, or?
It was so, it kind of trickled off in a way, but by the time it really ended and she completely stopped selling was 1998-ish, 1996, 7, 8. And I was grown and doing other things by then. So not really, I didn't have that feeling. I don't know if it had happened during my childhood, there may have been a around that. But even so, it's not like I would have been able to go around and talk about it. So I don't know. I didn't really have that. And I think that this is just part of how we all as children we absorb our realities. We learn the rules of what we're working with, right? And then we protect ourselves in certain ways. And so I didn't really start to think about what it means to carry around a secret until I was grown and reflecting back on it. As a kid, I didn't experience that pressure in a very conscious way. Looking back, I can see like, wow, I had to carry all of this around. I had a lot of responsibility. A lot could have gone wrong if I hadn't kept my mouth shut. But at the time, I don't recall feeling this urge to spill it, or, you just compartmentalize to get through your day. So it's definitely something that I've become more aware of, processing it through writing than I was at the time.
Well, kudos to you for being able to keep that secret, because as a kid, I don't think I could have. I would have been like,
I had this conversation with a good friend of mine recently, and then I ended up quoting her in an essay because I was like, that's a good line. She said that having to carry a secret like that as a kid, or giving a kid a secret like that, is like giving them a gas can and matches and asking them not to burn the house down. And she had to carry secrets when she was younger, but they felt more stressful to her. So for me, the environment at home was loving and nurturing, and I liked the world. So the inside world of our secrets, where we had all of these family friends coming over and hanging out on the barge, and I was always welcome into the inner circle of the world. It was never like, this isn't kid stuff, go to your room. I was always allowed to be there and be part of the community. And I loved that community so much. So the idea of using that gas can and those matches to burn the house down, I just wouldn't, why would I do that? I didn't have it. So it comes back again to having such a loving environment, that it was something I didn't want to break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting question. I'm going to change gears real quick. From Linda Newman. She says, did y'all file income taxes? It's Pamela brother.
No.
It's a short answer. No.
We all kind of.
It's a very short answer. Yeah.
Okay.
You could have a brownie business, you know, it's just, you don't have.
Oh, I just wonder, yeah, did the bakery ever file taxes? Okay, here's one from Joy Siemens. Alia, do you feel that your unconventional childhood was a gift for your creativity? What was the best part of being surrounded by this chosen family community? I think you talked a little bit about that already, but
Yeah.
did it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is something that I'm grateful for. We've talked about already the artistic process and practice. You know, my mom still in her 70s is making art every day. And I've learned to survive emotionally, to survive the emotional difficulties of life through having a consistent artistic process. And throughout all this crap that we're going through this year and last year and the year before, there's been a lot of, you know, I see in my literary community a lot of hand wringing about, oh, my stories don't matter. How can I make art at a time like this? And I'm so grateful every day to wake up and have art to make, because what else would I do with this nervous energy? You know, even if it's doesn't have to be a direct response to what's going on, or it can be. Either way, for my sanity, I have that, and it allows me to interact in some way with this screwed up world that we're living in right now. And also, I just feel so privileged to have been surrounded by creative, funny, exuberant people who are sometimes very messy, but never boring. So the chosen family was a really beautiful place for me to land. And one of the reasons that I wanted to tell this story is that I've seen a lot of the memoirs that come from counterculture kids tend to focus on neglect or sort of the downside of, and I know I never suffered neglect, but there are other downsides. There's instability. We're under threat of arrest. You know, a lot of counterculture memoirs focus on that, and I really wanted to celebrate the gift of being born into the counterculture. For me, it has been a wonderful place to grow up, you know, warts and all. But I wouldn't trade it for something, you know, square. I mean, I wouldn't.
I traded my life for something square. I live in Texas now. Meridy, you left San Francisco, and Alia, you stayed, because San Francisco has gone. I mean, it is, I don't even recognize it anymore. So how does that feel? Like the city, the changes?
I've left, by the way. I've left I've
Meridy,
left
you
several
left San
times,
Francisco,
and
Alia, you stayed.
oh,
'Cause
something's
San
playing.
Francisco,
Um,
I mean, it is, I don't even
I don't
recognize
know what's
it
going on.
That's
anymore.
me. Ignore
So
me.
how does that?
So,
Sorry.
I
Always me.
it's a brave new world we're all navigating here. But I've left several times, and I've left permanently. I've left for good. It's always for good. I'm always flouncing out. But I end up back here, and that in a way is mysterious to me. So you know, it's not actually where I want to be. It just is somehow the easiest place for me to be, and I'm not sure why that is. I'm very frustrated with the changes. I'm heartbroken, and I felt for a long time really frustrated with the decisions that San Francisco culture has made, what it has made of itself. And of course, this is a huge influx of people from outside, as it always is in San Francisco. We have these mass migrations. It's nothing new that 100,000 people this time from the tech and, you know, venture capitalist world, but that 100,000 people will come from some other, you know, part of the world. to change San Francisco. I don't like the changes here. You know, a lot of people didn't like the changes when the hippies came or when the queers came, or, you know, it's part of the city. It's an interesting time right now, of course, because we're all going through this pandemic. Legacy businesses are closing, which is terrible, but also big tech is starting to leave. And there are a lot of vacancies, and rents are starting to go down, although it's still ridiculous, you know,
Oh, yeah.
from like 3,500 for a 1-bedroom to 2,500, but it's beginning to change. So I have a certain curiosity about what's going to happen coming out of this. But I don't know, I'll leave. I'm not, I'm not opposed to leaving.
Yeah, my sister still lives, well, she lives in the East Bay, and the last time I came back, I was like, you know, when I moved there in '89, my first apartment was in the Western Addition at Scott and Hayes. So it had the beautiful, you know, Alamo Square Park, but I lived in this really disgusting apartment. And now the Western Addition is just like so gentrified. I didn't
anymore. It's NOPA now. It was rebranded a decade or so ago.
Yeah, I was like, I do not recognize, where's the Popeyes? You know, I didn't recognize any of it.
Yeah.
Weird.
Unfortunately, the gentrification has pushed out the artists,
Yeah.
poor families. The mission is completely I mean, what was so wonderful, the diversity and how wonderful the city was, and especially the musicians and the artists and the dancers and the actors, they've all had to leave, basically.
I know.
That's sad.
Yeah, I left in 2001, and my last house, I mean, I moved into it because it was a renovated crack house in the Bayview, and it had a view, and I'm like, and we paid $1,500 for a 3-bedroom house.
Wow.
And we moved in 1999. I'm like, we're taking it because, you know, 1,500, this is heard of. And then there was a gang shooting in front of our house, and we just had our first child. And I'm like, she won't be able to ride her bicycle on the street. We can't do this. So we moved out of the state. But I miss the city. I mean, it was such a, I mean, it is a really, for anybody who's watching this who's never been to San Francisco, it is an amazing city.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful and filled with colorful people. I mean, it's like, I just loved, it was like, for me, it was like the most wonderful place because I love to sit and I love to watch people. I'm not a joiner, but I'm a watcher. I like to watch, and I just loved that aspect of it.
The crowd has gotten a lot more boring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very white, it's very moneyed, it's very privileged. But as I say, you know, it's an interesting transformative time right now. We're losing a lot of good places, and we're losing a lot of things that were taking up space and that were drastically affecting the economic divide. We also have a situation where, you know, the tent cities that people are forced to live in are now huge and occupying enormous swaths of the city, and that's intense. Get it?
Yes. Intense. That was one thing I was like, wow, I mean, it is really tent city.
It really, yeah. So I mean, what is, this is going to come to some kind of a head, and what is that going to look like? I don't know, you know.
Well,
Weird times we're living in.
Yeah.
we'll see. Let's see. We have so many, there's so many questions here, and
I can't see them anymore, so you're all on.
Okay. Here's one. This is for Alia. Did your view of your childhood change at all during the process of writing? If so, how?
Definitely, sure. But in what way? Well, I thought a lot and in a lot of different ways about the AIDS crisis, which was very present for me as a child. It was definitely something I was aware of. I was aware of the loss. I was aware of the sickness. I was aware of the contradictions between the political messages that were going out on the national level and what I saw on a personal level. What I came to think about a lot more, as I researched the book, was how much a dynamic part of that the medical marijuana movement was. So my mom never thought of herself or presented herself to me, or I think anyone else, as a pioneer. She was making decisions on a daily basis that made sense to her spiritually and and on a survival basis, economically or whatever. But when you look at it in retrospect, nobody was running a business of that scale when she was doing it. And when that transitioned into the dawn of medical marijuana, it was very new, very risky, and very important to what would become medical cannabis and what would become the current US American view of cannabis, which sees it in medicinal terms first and next in recreational terms, right? So those polls were completely reversed at the beginning of the AIDS crisis. I didn't understand any of that as a child, but looking back on it, I can see how that unfolded and that my family had a role in it. I came to think of some of the people that I admired on a personal level, as activists, as fighters, as cultural and political heroes. So it was really interesting to reframe my childhood within its socio-political context and see that these things that I was experiencing in a very personal way on the level of just relationships and daily interactions, and see that those were actually having larger political ramifications that in some ways changed the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a pot smoker, but I am so for the legalization of marijuana. I think it would be not only for economic purposes, but also for the medicinal benefits that it has for people. And
we've still only, from a medical and scientific standpoint, have only scratched the surface. And this is partially due to the fact that on the federal level, cannabis is still a Schedule I narcotic, which means that it is legally defined as having no medicinal value, which means that it is extremely difficult to arrange research.
really,
That's changing, but that continues to be the case. So to get research funding and to get quality controlled cannabis to use in testing, because it has to be, of a consistent type and level in order for those results to count, so to speak.
I just remember back in the 80s when I was researching medical marijuana and, let's legalize it. There was a drug called Marinol that was being used, but it's like, it takes a while, you have to ingest it, and it didn't have the immediacy of, an edible or inhaling marijuana.
And people said that when it came on like a speeding train, and that was still very early in the research. So one of the things that has come out in more recent years is, so Marinol was a pure slug of THC, and THC has this heavy psychotropic properties. This is what makes you feel high, right? But nowadays they're looking a lot more at other cannabinoids that affect it differently, that affect the body differently. So we're seeing a lot more about CBD, right? Which doesn't have psychotropic properties. And there are hundreds of cannabinoids, and they're still being discovered, and they all interact in different ways, both with the human body, with the endocannabinoid system, that all organisms, even sponges, have an endocannabinoid system, and with each other. So it's now thought that one of the reasons that Marinol was so uncomfortable for people was because it was pure THC with no CBD or other cannabinoids that would interact with the THC to make it less psychedelic, to make it so that it didn't hit so hard, so it didn't flatten you in your bed. It made people uncomfortable. But the reason that Marinol was marketed so heavily is because it was a synthetic version of THC that pharmaceutical companies could market and sell. So it wasn't plant-based. And one of the reasons, looking at it cynically, but this is what it is, one of the main reasons that there has been such a resistance to studying and properly studying and identifying the medicinal properties of cannabis is that it's plant-based. It's not a pharmaceutical. It's hard to make money off of it.
It's a weed. It can grow in your backyard.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's a very complex issue, but I, by the way, am not I'm not much of a user of cannabis myself either. I don't come from like, oh, let's everybody get high. But much like you, it seems important to me that people be able to access this medicinally, and also that we finally figure out what we have here. It's clear that we have a product, that we have a plant that interacts powerfully with the human body. And so why can't we work together to figure out how to do this safely and to take the most advantage of it?
Exactly.
And decriminalize it is the main thing for me, to
No kidding.
decriminalize it.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. The amount, the people being locked up over these, the amount of money that taxpayers are spending, the amount of money spent on court cases. I mean, the whole thing is just outlandish. So
Lost potential is
already.
Just the lost potential is devastating to me. So
here's an interesting question. Meridy, this is from Maryland, did you use the I Ching to decide whether to participate tonight?
No, but I do use it. This series that I'm doing, the BLM portraits, I toss hexagrams on who's next. I'll be like, should I do Ray Charles? Should I do Dorothy Dandridge? Should I do, and I look at maybe 5 and pick the best one by tossing hexagrams. So I still do use it. And made some major decisions. Not like I used to. Not to the extent that I used to, but I do still use it.
Yeah.
And I did not toss whether to do this. It seemed
This
like
was
a great idea.
A given. Why not? Let's see. Okay, here's one. Alia, what was the most surprising thing you learned about your mother when writing the book?
Golly. Again, I mean, I think, so I know my mom pretty well. We have a very open relationship. I was surprised to find out how much of a pioneer, and really how ahead of her time she was in this work, and how the work fit into the business. That was really the biggest surprise there. I had a lot of surprises around my dad's story, and we were estranged when I began this book. And so where it was really easy for me to ask my mom questions, it was difficult emotionally for me to even screw up the courage to ask my dad such intimate questions. And the fact that he was so receptive to it really surprised me and changed our relationship. We collaborated, we dug through boxes together. If you've read the book, you know that he's a grand mal epileptic and his memory is damaged. And so there were a lot of things that, and whole stretches of time that he didn't remember. And we would try to piece it together as a group project. And it was really cool. He was so open. He was open to acknowledging mistakes he'd made. And that willingness to confront the errors of the past goes such a long way. It makes it so easy to forgive. It makes it so easy to move on and build a new relationship. So we've become very close in this. And there were a lot of things in the book about my dad that I did not know when I started. I don't even know where to start.
What was his sexuality? Was that something that came out during this? Did you have any idea, or?
I mean, when I started in 2006, he was not out of the closet.
Wow.
By the time I came back to the project in 2016, he was out. He was. So, you know, there's a lot of time in there. But he's totally out of the closet now. He's a proud bisexual man. He's in a relationship with a wonderful gay guy who we all love. Everybody loves Rick. And they're great. And like this new openness, I think for him, he was able to shed a lot of shame. And so I think one of the really cool things that happened is that a lot of relationships, not just mine with him, but also I think Mary, yours with him, and Barb's relationship with Doug, and other people have come back into the fold. There's been this reconnecting of what was a very tight group of friends at a time that scattered to the four winds and are now back in touch, you know, to different degrees. So that's been a really cool thing.
So do Doug and Meridy and you all get together like for holidays? I mean, is it?
Yeah, we'd spend Christmas with Doug, Jan, who's my grandmother, Doug's mother, and Rick, his boyfriend, and yeah.
That's cool. That's cool that you can all do that, you know. It's
You painted a pretty good picture. There was you had one holiday that you painted a picture of for us, where everybody was around on the couch after, was it Thanksgiving? So
it was Christmas. That was a Christmas.
Oh, it was Christmas. Okay.
Yeah, and the next year we all went to see the Golden Girls drag show.
Okay, I have another question here. We're getting close here. Okay, Alia, do you feel that your unconventional childhood was a gift for your creativity?
I think you asked me one. You asked me that.
I did that.
Oh, you already did that? Oh, I'm sorry.
I already did that.
Okay, there's some more down here.
There were a lot, and then I messed up technology and lost them.
Okay, let's see. If Meridy and Alia live in different places, are they still super close, talk every day, or what is their relationship like now?
Yeah, we talk every day. We talk on the phone or we Skype.
Very close. We've always been close. We've never been not close.
Right.
I can't think of a time where we didn't, even when we've lived in different countries. I lived in Mexico for a while and you were traveling around Europe. You know, always super close, still close. Yeah, talk every day.
That's very nice.
Proud of each other, I think.
Hey, we had a reminder just pop up. Did you see that, Pamela?
What?
We need to make sure people are wanting to know where to see Meridy's artwork. So please, we'll post a link or we'll do something so that we can connect.
Yeah, do you have a link to your artwork that we can share on our page?
People can friend me on Facebook for one thing, because
Okay.
I post a lot of these on Facebook. I do have a website. I'm way behind. Every 2 days, I crank out another portrait, and
When was the last time
I'm
that was on?
behind on my website. I'm like
So-
about 15 pieces behind. But people
Okay.
can friend me, and
So
that's
Facebook would be
cool.
the best way. And they can go through our group to find you there. There've been a couple
Yeah.
of things posted there. So
Yeah.
just follow the links.
Okay. And
I posted at a point some of the Black Lives Matter series, which are all beautiful portraits of Black artists from throughout the years. And all the proceeds from that she's donating to either the Black Lives Matter bail funds or to local charities benefiting Black families in crisis. So it's a really cool thing. And I posted some in the group, and you can find
And they're
her.
beautiful.
yes.
Thank you.
I bought Eartha Kitt.
Oh,
It's on the way.
Wow.
wow.
Okay.
Love her.
So I'm going to do a drawing for, we have a couple of books to give away. We have Black Buck, a novel by Matteo Ascarpour. I cannot read here. Ascarpour. So everyone who took a selfie with Alia's book is in this drawing. And the first winner is Denise Miller. You're
Yay,
the winner.
Denise. Wow.
And
Look who's
then,
wild.
okay, and then we have another book, Land of Big Numbers by Tae-Ping Chen. And that is going to Peggy Curry Gleason. And then
Yay, Peggy.
I am going to give away an advanced reading copy of my book.
Oh, I thought you were going to give away something else. I was going to go, no, my name isn't in there. I need my name in that bag.
Well, what would I be giving away?
The
What?
thing that you make. The things that you make.
Oh, a box? No.
A box. I was like,
Carrie
oh, put my name.
Angle is going to get a copy of, an advanced reader copy of my
Woo!
vampire novel.
Yay.
And I would like to do one, if we could do one more before we finish. I have,
Yeah.
so these are the Sticky Fingers t-shirts. It is
Cool.
a drawing of done by my dad, and she's pregnant with me. So it's a family portrait. And I'm just about to get a new stash of these. So I'd like to give one away to somebody in the,
All right. Okay. So this is for the t-shirt.
yeah.
So are you going to need like a size? Or
I'll need a size, and I don't know, I'm not sure what color it'll be. We can
All right.
work that out afterwards.
Well, you get what you get and you don't throw it.
Get what you get.
All right. So, oh, Darlene Armstrong gets the t-shirt. Yay.
Yay. And Alia, do you sell the t-shirts? Are they available?
Yes, I just got a new shipment. They're $25 shipped to your door. They're all printed at a local screen printer here in San Francisco, which we figured out is the same screen printer that did the original Sticky Fingers t-shirt back in 1978.
Wow.
On burning. So they're yeah.
Well,
Where are they located?
They're in San Francisco, and they've been here since 1976. It's a family business, and they just
That's-
beautiful, beautiful, high quality work. No, it's not a sweat patch. They're really nice. Yeah.
Cool.
can you put a link to that? That's
Yeah.
Gosh, people can
That's a
just
request.
message me. I'm worse than my mom. I don't even. I don't have. It should be on my website. It's not. I've really just been selling them in small batches to friends, and they sell out quickly. So I'm just kind of doing it on the DL a little bit. But
Okay. So, but they're on your website.
yeah, you can. No, they're not.
they're not on our website.
No.
You just. I'll post a thing in the group, and if anyone wants
Okay.
to comment on that, or you can message me on Facebook.
Send up a smoke signal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed our talk. September, it's The Engineer's Wife by Tracy Anderson Wood. Hope you all are reading, buying, taking selfies. And thank you, Meridy and Alia.
You're
I
welcome.
totally appreciate you guys being here. And good night, Facebook. My dinner has arrived.
This was so much fun, and thank you to the whole club for engaging so much throughout the whole month on the posts. It's really been a treat for me, so I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks for interacting with us.
Yes, we
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Good night.
Bye, Meridy. Good
Night.
night.